Let's now talk about misfire. Misfire is a pragmatic concept, and it is one of the two possible ways, according to Austin, in which a speech act may not be performed successfully. One of those methods is pragmatic failure, in which usually enough information is not conveyed to the listener so that he might reach at a certain desired conclusion. So there is a pragmatic failure of the meaning, contextual meanings between the speaker and the listener. Misfire is another category in which we can see sometimes the information is conveyed completely, but it is interpreted differently by the listener because of various contextual or background reasons. We'll talk about this further. In order to understand, we need to see that speech acts are usually performed in various social situations, and they need certain felicity conditions to be performed, which has been talked regularly in traditional and contemporary pragmatics. And these conditions, felicity conditions, are those conditions under which a certain speech act can be performed. For example, if I ask you, please get me that water. So there should be water down there at the place which I actually point out. And you should have the ability to bring me that. If any of these conditions are not there, this speech act may not be performed. So every speech act in this regard has certain necessary conditions which have to be met in order to perform a speech act. Otherwise, the speech act would remain unsuccessful. There could be multiple relevant conditions in this regard. For example, there should be a conventional procedure in order to perform a conventional speech act. For example, if you want to apply for a leave in your office or at your universities, we all know there is a formal procedure of doing that. You write an application, and without that, this might not be possible in most of the situations. So there are certain speech acts which desire a conventional procedure, and that should be performed accurately. Those procedures should not be compromised at any stage. It should be followed completely. Then there should be some desired participants or needed participants involved in the situation. You should convey the message to the right person and not to any other person. If you say that to any other person, still your speech act may not be performed. And there could be many other conditions which needs to be met. It's a detailed topic in order to perform a speech act. Wherever there would be some lack of felicity conditions in a certain environment, then there is always a fear of the misfire or the failure of a speech act. Let's consider the following example in order to understand misfire more accurately. For example, if somebody says the tailor pressed one suit in the municipal court. Based on our knowledge about clothing and the tailor, we might say that the speaker is talking about a suit for wearing. But it is actually a legal suit. But if a hearer understands it's as a clothing suit, then this would be a misfire. Because the speaker intended a different meaning. He intended that the tailor actually pressed a suit in the court rather than pressing a clothing suit. So this situation, we can see that information is complete, but still this may be misunderstood by a listener. Such kind of misunderstanding is called misfire. We can understand this further by looking at another example. For example, stolen gun found by the victim. So if you look at this example, stolen gun found by the victim, here a hearer might understand that the gun was found beside the victim, instead of the intended meaning of the speaker, which is that the stolen gun was actually found by the victim. So such misfires may occur in certain social situations where speech acts or the procedures of performing speech act has not been carried out properly. But we also need to understand that such misfires are not very common in a conversation, especially which are based on the speakers of the same language, because speakers and listeners have the ability in general situations, normal situations, have the ability to understand the missing information from the context. So misfire may occur, but let me share that again, that they are not very common in our daily conversations.